Toru is a pathetic virgin loser who finds himself in a harem after people find out that he has powers that can knock out girls. However, before any of this, Toru, a pathetic ugly loser, meets a weird girl named Imari on the first day of school at Kuryu Academy. She introduces herself to him, explaining that it's her first day as well, so they should walk together. Imari explains that she's the only one in her middle school who applied to Kuryu Academy. Toru tells her the same thing. During the entrance ceremony, they sit right next to each other in the hall. Then, a girl named Sakura, the chair of the student board, steps onto the stage. She introduces herself to the new students and tells them to look at the students they are sitting right next to. The students do as told without suspecting anything. She shocks them by informing them that that person will be their partner in a duel, where they will fight, and the winner will be the one allowed to stay and learn at the academy. The students mutter amongst themselves since they weren't told about this tradition. Toru stands up and asks if it's possible to change partners. Sakura makes him understand that the person on his right is his opponent in the duel. Imari tells him that it's fine and that he shouldn't mock her. After Sakura tells them to begin the duel and harness the power of their soul blaze and seize their future, the students don't waste their time as they start fighting with their opponent. As Toru looks at the chaos that surrounds him, he remembers an incident from his past. Imari tells him to get ready as she had already harnessed her blaze. When he doesn't reply, she lunges at him, striking. He moves back a little, causing her to strike the floor. She lunges at him again, telling him that he is not him so she won't miss again, as he realizes that she has Luciful power. He dodges and grabs her hand, telling her it's enough. She wonders if he's asking her to accept defeat. He replies, and just then a weapon comes from behind him, and he activates his blaze and blocks it, making Imari gasp, making her wonder if it is Iron Man himself as she notices that he has a shield instead of the weapons. He explains that maybe he's an irregular. Still, she doesn't back down and lunges at Toru, who blocks with his shield and pushes her back, then punches her gut, sending her flying to the ground. Sakura calls a timeout. Then she tells the winners that she hopes they'll reach the absolute duo. Imari congratulates him for winning the duel and exits the gates of the academy after advising him about the real world he's about to enter. On his way to class, he meets Tora, who's glad to see him after 2 years, and he tells him about the two of them being Sakura's lab rats due to the Luciful administered in them to harness their blaze powers. They enter their class, and Tora sits at a desk when a girl named Julie Siena calls his name and sits on the desk with him. She stares at him, putting them in an awkward situation. Suddenly, their homeroom teacher, Rito, enters the class through the window and asks the students to introduce themselves. When it was Toru's turn, she recognized him as the irregular they were talking about in the staff room. After the introductions, she informs them about the duo system and tells them that their partners have already been decided, meaning the one they are sitting with. After classes, Toru didn't want to go to his room, but Tora chases him out, so he is forced to enter his room, which he first thought she isn't in since it was dark. Then she immediately calls out from the bathroom in just a shirt. They introduce themselves to each other once again, and she tells him he reminds her of Thor, the god of thunder, since he is giving main character energy. She then informs him that she's very interested in him as she crawls towards him and tells him to teach her the punch he used during the duel. He refuses, saying it strains the body, so it can cause a lot of damage to a girl's body. Feeling drowsy, she falls asleep on his lap, and he puts her on the bed. The following morning, he wakes up next to Julie, making him wonder whether he's in the wrong bed. He moves to the edge and sees the one below him, finding that Julie left her bed. Later, they go to the cafeteria for breakfast, where the students stare at them and murmur that he's the irregular. Others wonder if the opposite gender can also be a duo. They find a vacant table and start eating their breakfast. Then, Tomo and Miyabi join them. Tomo expresses her concerns for the two of them sharing a room. However, Julie replies that they have no problem, explaining about the plot they almost had the previous night, giving Tomo a bad picture of Toru. In class, as they were learning about the crest of the dawning star, Toru notices the glares coming from Tomo and tells Julie of the misunderstanding she has caused, urging her to explain it properly. Rito tells the students about leveling up and that they can raise their levels by the ritual of sublimation. If one doesn't level up at least once in a year, they will be expelled. The students then went to their next class, a training room. Toru and Tora watch as Julie and Tomo train together. Tora asks about Toru's roommate, and he explains that he plans to partner up with him in a week for the duo because he doesn't want to hold back. After the girls' combat, Tora and Toru start training as the girls watch, discussing how talented the two boys are. Days go by with the students doing the same routine. One day, as school was out, Tora finds Toru waiting for Julie by the exit. Toru reminds Tora that he's counting on him for the duo registration. On the way to their room, he asks Julie who she plans to partner up with, and she mentions Tomo. They stop walking and watch the cherry blossoms together. She reminds him that it's the second time doing it together as she reminds him of the academy entrance day. He seems to be shocked that she notices him since she saw her walk past him. The day of the duo registration, he notices Julie outside with Tomo. Then, he walks to the registration desk with Tora. They walk past some girls laughing as they discuss, saying the teacher told them not to. Arriving at the registration desk, the lady tells them to make an oath with their blazes activated. As they were about to do it, Toru notices Tomo with Miyabi and he asks about Julie. Tomo replies that she had asked her to be her partner earlier, but she turned her down since she had already decided to be with Miyabi. Looking at Tora, he tells her to go, saying he understands. So he starts looking for Julie everywhere but couldn't find her. He notices that it's only an hour left before the duo registration closes. He continues searching for her until he finds her in a clock tower. He asks her to be in a duo with her, and she is hesitant, wondering whether she's good enough for him. But he manages to make her see that she is, even promising to show her his meat and maybe teach her how to write in Japanese.
Stop it. Get some help.
Then she agrees. The homeroom teacher tells the students that there will be a mock battle and that everyone except their partner is an enemy. Toru and Julie are training in the forest, and he has just lost again. He feels bad about not being good enough since the mock battle is pretty soon. Julie tells him she has an idea of how he can use the shield, and they get up to spar. She goes very close to him, and he tells her that she's close, making her move back a little. Then Toru uses his fist and punches the tree hole, explaining that since his power is not blaze, he's always afraid to use it since the person at the receiving end of his punch will always get hurt. That night, Toru wakes up panting due to the nightmare he had about his past, seeing his loved ones getting the Uchiha treatment they got from Itachi on the day of the mock battle. After Rito tells them to begin, Toru asks Julie if she still remembers their plan. She nods as she explains that they will knock out everyone they find. They start in the forest fighting and defeating the duos. When there is 1 hour remaining, they meet with Tomo and Miyabi in a building. She attacks them, and he blocks it with his shield. She attacks them again from behind, and they successfully dodge her attack. Then she continues distracting them as she calls for Miyabi. She appears and activates her blaze with Toru and Julie in between Miyabi and Tomo in the building's hallway. Julie tells Toru to watch her back as she lunges at Tomo, while he blocks Miyabi's attack until she surrenders and falls to the ground, calling herself useless. He tells her she isn't useless since her attack was pretty powerful. She managed to make him move. Meanwhile, Tomo loses to Julie. Then they return to their dorm since it was dark, seeing that many duos have been eliminated. Toru wishes to fight with Tora as they walk around the building and they hear someone scream in pain. They run towards them and find Tora and his partner lying on the ground. He asks Tora what happened, but he isn't responding. Then Rito arrives, wondering what's wrong with them, and he replies he found them like that. He suddenly hears Tora saying behind him. The duo jumps out of the way as Rito attacks them with her huge sword. She continues attacking them, and she is more powerful than them. Toru asks her why she's doing all this, and she replies that she has been sent to kill all the promising recruits. She attacks again, and he blocks it, calling him a weakling. He remembers the day of the incident when the person told him that his family died because he's a weakling. Toru gets mad and attempts to Superman punch her, but she quickly jumps out of the way, laughing as she tells him that he's slow. She continues to attack. Then Toru breaks through a wall and lands in a class on top of broken desks. Julie asks if he's alright. When they realize that she's more powerful and faster than them, they decide to come up with a technique to take her down. Rito arrives asking who's going to die first. Then Julie stands up, promising to protect Toru. Toru quickly lunges at her, and she attacks him. He blocks with his shield. She swings her sword again, preparing to slice him in between. Then Julie blocks it with her sword, distracting her while Toru lunges at Rito with his fist. Rito tries to attack him with her sword, but she was slow. Toru breaks her sword with his fist, remembering how she had broken Tora's weapon, teaching them that it breaks the owner's soul. Later, the duo is in their room wrapped in bandages. Rito has been arrested, and they save Tora and his partner. They try to concentrate on healing as they drink their tea. He puts the cup on the table and starts groaning in pain. Julie trips and falls on top of him as she was trying to go to him, and Tomo finds her on top of him, misunderstanding the situation once again.
Women.
Toru's morning begins with an awkward awakening. In his dream-induced haze, he almost accidentally touches Julie's rice cakes, only to realize his mistake once they're both awake. He quickly apologizes to her. Later, Toru and Julie head to class, where they encounter Tora and his partner already present. The 4 students are puzzled by this, as Tora and his partner are supposed to be recovering. Toru explains that Tomo and Miyabi found them injured and provided first aid. Tora bows to Tomo and Miyabi, expressing gratitude. However, their peaceful classroom atmosphere is disrupted when Rito enters. The students wish they never had to see her again, but she's back. After the lesson, the students block the teacher's way in the hallway, but Rito points to Sakuya, the student board chair, who stands behind them. Together, they head to Sakuya's office. She explains that keeping Rito as a teacher is for the greater good, as her students manage to take her down after a week, proving her effectiveness. She even offers to raise their levels. In the next class, a new transfer student named Lilith Bristol arrives. She heads straight to Toru's desk, requesting a private conversation. After getting permission from the teacher, Lilith takes Toru outside, where her helper Sarah serves them tea. Lilith transferred from England after hearing rumors of an irregular student. She wants to become Toru's duo partner, but he declines as he believes he might have a shot on getting cultured with his current partner. Later that night, Toru showers and chats with Julie. She suggests they go shopping for winter clothes during the break. Toru, being a virgin as he tries to avoid the topic of sleeping together, but Julie insists they should share a bed. The following day, they visit the mall, where people stare at Julie, comparing her to a doll. Meanwhile, Tomo and Miyabi spy on them. After shopping, they sit down to eat, and Julie starts acting strangely. Toru suspects she's drunk. Just as things seem normal, 4 boys surround them. One grabs Miyabi's hand, preventing them from leaving. Toru rushes to their aid, but then Lilith appears, armed with her rifle blades, shooting the 4 boys. The next day in class, Toru realizes that Lilith is absent again. He explains to Miyabi and Tomo that Lilith is an exception and that the rifle she used during the confrontation is actually her blaze. Miyabi and Tomo were shocked by this, as they had never seen a blaze that could materialize into complex weaponry before. Elsewhere, Lilith is cleaning her rifle while pondering what a duo of an exception like her and an irregular like Toru would look like. After the events of the new blade battle, Toru and his friends ascend to level 2, and everyone at the pool is amazed at their newly acquired skills. However, that was not the case for Julie, who ended up almost drowning as she doesn't have the swimming skills. Luckily, Toru was there to save her and was surprised to see that Julie has something she is not good at. Later, as Julie and Toru walk to class, Toru sees Lilith having a cup of tea. He rushes to her, asking why she has been skipping classes. She tells him that she is done with high school education and is just there to kill time. As Toru is about to ask her about her rifle blaze, Lilith cuts him off, telling him that if he wants an answer, he should man up and show her his meat on their date first. Upon agreeing to her demands, Toru is forced to skip classes and go with Lilith to Death New Land, an amusement park. Ever since moving to Japan, Lilith has wanted to visit the park, and excitement is written all over her face as she explores it with Toru. As they explore the park, Toru witnesses Lilith's shooting skills, and she reveals that hunting has always been her hobby since she was a little girl. Her childhood was spent reassembling and disassembling rifles, which is why a rifle is a part of her soul, just like Toru's blaze. After exploring the amusement park and watching the fireworks, Lilith gives Toru an opportunity to ask the question he wanted to ask her earlier. Toru asks her why she used her blaze in public the other day. Surprisingly, Lilith replies that it's not unusual to display one's blaze in front of their partner. She tells Toru how they can make a good duo, but once again, Toru denies her request, and Lilith is angered. Toru returns to his dorm way past curfew and finds Julie mad like an insecure girlfriend. He tells her how he spent the whole day with Lilith and that Lilith proposed forming a duo with him, but he denied her proposal because he cares about Julie and that she is the only one that she will see as meet. Julie thanks Toru for telling her and for choosing her before giving him an embrace. The next day at school, Toru is punished for skipping classes. Soon after his punishment, the teacher announces that there will be an interclass battle with the second years called the Dragon's Bite Battle. She tells them that during this battle, they won't be fighting in duos, but rather, the first years will be fighting individually against the chosen second year members. She advises them to come up with a plan, as the second years are mostly level 2 and 3. During the battle, Lilith suddenly arrives, taking out her rifle blaze and challenging the second years to a fight, declaring she will be representing the first years. During the battle, Lilith quickly takes out everyone before running into Toru at the mall. Before facing each other, Toru apologizes for refusing to form a duo with her and tells her that he still wants to be friends after the battle. With that, a fight between Toru's group and Lilith ensues. Toru's group decides to come up with a well-calculated plan to corner and defeat her. They split into 2 groups, and Toru's group is tasked with attacking Lilith from one direction. There, Toru finds himself in an intense fight with Lilith. Julie steps in and starts fighting with Lilith, but Lilith is just way too strong, and they all retreat. Upon regrouping to devise a better plan to defeat Lilith, Tomo tells Julie to stop fighting with emotions and instead focus on defeating Lilith. This makes Toru realize that Julie is still upset about what he told her regarding Lilith asking him to show her his meat, and he assures Julie that she will be the only one he will do with and also show his meat to. Just then, Lilith arrives, interrupting their conversation and proposing they continue fighting. The fight resumes, and Julie strikes Lilith with her sword, but Lilith blocks the attack with her rifle, tossing the sword away. With that, Julie summons her blaze, defending herself from Lilith's attacks. After a well-executed plan, Toru's group manages to push Lilith into a corner. However, Lilith refuses to give up, and just as Toru is about to have another go at her, he is suddenly shot in the arm, but this time not with a blaze but rather a real bullet. Just then, a group of Spartans arrives, saying they are there for Lilith, but Lilith denies knowing them. To jog her memory, one of them tells Lilith that they have been sent by the equipment smith, also known as the armor technician, to come and take her. Despite knowing who the equipment smith is, Lilith still refuses to go with them. The men then shoot her and take Miyabi hostage, threatening to ice-guy her if Lilith doesn't go with them. With that, Lilith finally decides to go with them and apologizes to Toru for not finishing their battle. Before the men make it out of the building with Lilith, Toru approaches them, telling them to leave Lilith alone as he refuses to let her go without finishing their battle. Lilith warns him to stay away as he is already injured and not in a position to fight. But Toru insists on saving her. The men attack him, and Toru uses all his strength, breaking the ground beneath them and taking Lilith to his side. He then asks Lilith to share some of her powers, and Lilith summons her blaze rifle, and together they defeat the men. Having defeated them, Toru and Lilith face off, continuing their fight. Elsewhere, the man reports to the equipment smith about what happened, and it is revealed that the equipment smith is after a person known as the Blaze Diabolica, the Blaze Witch. After the fight with Lilith, Toru finds himself in the infirmary, badly injured and surrounded by his friends. Lilith comes in and, after thanking him for rescuing her, apologizes to everyone for looking down on them. She kisses Toru, telling him that since he can't be her duo partner, he will be the only one that will touch her plots, and everyone is shocked. Days later, all the students are on a boat on their way to the island for the training camp, and Julie is lying in Toru's lap because she is experiencing seasickness. Later, they are all called by Rito, who announces that the students will have to swim from the boat to the island where the camp is located. However, since Julie doesn't know how to swim, Toru has to carry her on his back, and they find themselves lagging behind. Along the way, Lilith appears and jumps from the helicopter to show her massive plots to Toru. However, he tells her that there's no time to play with them, which Lilith agrees to, and they decide to race to the island. Upon reaching the island, Toru is extremely tired from swimming with his uniform on and Julie on his back, so he lies on the beach to rest. Lilith proposes she gives him some shade in exchange for a smooch, but Toru declines, opting to lay in the sun instead. Elsewhere, Miyabi and her duo partner Tomo are also on their way to the training camp, but Miyabi is having difficulties and blames herself for delaying her partner. Tomo tells her to stop doubting herself, as doing that means she also doubts their duo, and the two continue with their journey. As Toru, Julie, and Lilith continue their journey to the camp, they pass through a forest. Suddenly, unknown people attack them with kunai knives, making them wonder if they are in a Naruto episode, and Lilith concludes that the attackers are definitely ninjas. Just then, the ninjas appear, and Toru is surprised to realize that they also have blaze. Miyabi and Tomo are also attacked by the same ninjas, and Miyabi finds herself with no other choice but to defend her partner Tomo with her blaze. Simultaneously, as Toru, Julie, and Lilith continue fighting the ninjas, Lilith realizes that the ninjas brought them inside the woods so they can easily trap them with the trees. Just then, a ninja throws a knife at her, but Julie steps in to save her. With that, the two girls find themselves working hand in hand to defeat the ninjas. On the other hand, Toru finds himself in an intense fight with one particular ninja and wonders who it could be. When the opportunity presents itself for Toru to finish the ninja off, he suddenly stops upon seeing the ninja's face and realizing that it's Emery, his opponent during the Kuryu Academy enrollment exam. They all arrive at the camp, which is the Kuryu Academy branch school, and during a welcome speech, they are told that the attack in the forest was a mock battle welcoming them to the training. As they enjoy their welcome feast, Toru expresses his shock to Emery about not knowing that there is another branch school, and Emery tells him how all the students that failed the enrollment exam were given an opportunity to enroll at the branch school. Elsewhere, the man who attacked Lilith and the others earlier has a conversation with an unknown old man about a mission that they are planning called Competitive Exhibition Selection. The next morning, Toru wakes up in a tent and realizes that she is in bed with Lilith and Julie. Tomo walks in and concludes that they had a Upon learning the truth later from Lilith and Julie, she apologizes to Toru for jumping to conclusions. On the other hand, Miyabi finds herself in need of showing her massive plot to Toru, and she concludes that maybe she is just in love. With the training camp coming to an end, Miyabi decides to ask Toru on a date, alongside Emery and Tomo, and Toru agrees. When the time for the date finally arrives, Toru finds himself on a date at the beach with Miyabi, Emery, Tomo, Lilith, and Julie, making him feel like he is Thanos, as if he had corrected all Infinity Stones. However, he manages to give each one of the girls as much time as possible. As the date progresses, Emery realizes that Miyabi is looking sad and decides to have a talk with her. During the talk, she asks her if she is in love with Toru, as she always catches her looking at him. Miyabi admits to having feelings for Toru, but reveals that his friendships with the other females have been holding her back. Emori also reveals to Miyabi that she has always wanted to be friends with him, but the fact that they are in different schools has gotten in the way of their friendship. With this, she asks Miyabi not to give up on Toru and to fight for his love. As they return to the camp, Miyabi accidentally falls and twists her ankle. Seeing this, Emori takes it as an opportunity to have her spend some alone time with Toru and tells the others to hurry back to the camp while Toru stays behind and helps Miyabi home. Finally alone, Miyabi finds herself spending some quality time with Toru, walking on the beach and watching as the sun sets, and she finally tells him that she loves him. At the training camp, Lilith joins Sakia for tea and addresses her as a blaze diabolical. Back on the beach, upon hearing that Miyabi loves him, Toru finds himself remembering an incident in his past when a girl died on his watch because he was weak. With this in mind, he tells Miyabi that he doesn't feel the same and she should take the L. The battle between the Libers and Blaze continues as some attend to the sick. Meanwhile, the mistress is in her office discussing the previous attacks on the school when it gets attacked again. Toru, along with all the other students, fights back but are surrounded by the Libers. They are rescued by Rito, who is more powerful and able to use her blaze to its full potential. The students are amazed at how Rito has fought and defended herself while winning the fight. As the fight concludes, Rito goes into the forest, claiming to go hunting. On the other hand, the mistress and Lilith are attacked by Kay, who manages to defeat them and leaves Lilith unconscious, taking the mistress with him. Toru and Julie rush to help after witnessing the fight, but they find Kay already gone. Meanwhile, Tomo goes to the beach with another student to look for Miyabi, but they don't succeed. Toru and Julie pursue Kay. Toru and Julie catch up to Kay's boat as he is about to leave. They engage in battle, but Kay proves to them that he is him, making it easy for him to overpower them. During the fight, Kay breaks Toru's leg and knocks Julie out. He throws a knife at her, but Toru rushes and catches it, earning a mocking remark from Kay. Toru tells Kay that he will always protect Julie, which infuriates Kay. He starts hitting and stabbing Toru, injuring him more and throwing him to the ground. As he finishes, Julie calls out to Toru, but he doesn't answer. Her heart breaks, and she lets out a cry, remembering how her father was killed and how Toru is being attacked in front of her eyes. Julie lets anger take over her, losing control over her whole body and making the Nine Tails take over. Kay is amazed and shocked to see how fast she is going in this state, attacking him from all angles and hurting him. The more Julie thinks about Toru, the angrier she gets, bruising him more with every hit. Toru wakes up and sees Julie, trying to get her back to normal. Just as he talks to her, Julie immediately turns to attack Toru but stops as she hears that he is fine. Julie halts the attack and returns to normal. Kay receives a call from his boss, informing him to leave the mistress as they were able to get what they came for. Kay hesitantly bids them farewell after promising Toru to fight and kill him next time they meet. Julie collapses on Toru's lap, and he carries her back to the school. Meanwhile, Miyabi is with the leader of the Libers and heading over to his lab, where he promises to make her stronger than anybody else. Upon reaching the lab, Miyabi finds an armor waiting for her. She loses consciousness as she wears it, letting the power consume her. As the students have finished learning and are waiting for more instructions, Tomo grows more impatient as Miyabi, her duo partner, is still missing. A girl arrives and informs them that the training is complete and they will be heading home soon. Some of the girls volunteer to stay and search for Miyabi, who is still missing. The students depart from the island, and on the way, Toru battles Tomo, who easily pins him to the floor. Rito walks up to them laughing, knowing full well that Toru will never surrender. This makes her let Toru go, and they fight again. She then goes to shower. After finishing, she calls out to Miyabi to pass her the towel but remembers that Miyabi is missing, which brings her to tears. She returns to the shower, but Lilith overhears her crying as she passes by the bathroom. Toru sits down in class as they got home and both Lilith and Julie surprise him and he points out Julie, which made her happy, and boosts to Lilith that Toru is the best partner and their bond is growing. Lilith walks up behind Tomo and grabs her massive plots, making her jump and scream, but Lilith laughs at her and still continue to squeeze them, while Julie closes Toru's eyes so he cannot see what they are doing. Toru wakes up to a nightmare where Miyabi is killed by Kay while they are on the beach. Feeling weak, Toru is comforted by Julie, who reassures him and makes him feel safe again. The mistress calls Toru to her office and thanks him by offering an upgrade in power, but Toru is hesitant. The mistress reminds him of why he came to this school, telling him to seize this opportunity and use it. As the mistress is leaving, she informs Toru that she has been invited to a rain conference by the Libers leader. Toru is surprised and confused as to what he wants. Toru returns to Julie and finds her about to make tea, and they drink together. During the meeting, the Libers leader proposes a truce between the two factions, but the mistress refuses, claiming they are two different groups with different paths and goals. The Libers leader suggests a game, Whoever kills the other will take over everything, to which the mistress agrees. Toru, Julie, and Lilith are out in the garden, deciding on their next move with the upgrade. Lilith warns Toru to be careful, as he might lose something more valuable while gaining that power. As they are talking, members of the Liber faction are seen approaching to attack, while the mistress phones the guards to inform them about the game and to prepare, as the Liber faction will attack in 10 minutes. As the Libers attack the school, Miyabi is among them, which makes it hard for the students to fight her in fear of hurting her. Miyabi looks over to Toru and asks him if he is satisfied with how strong she is. She strikes at some guards who attack her. Tomo comes and sees Miyabi, but Miyabi fights and injures her while asking Toru if he can now have plot with her. Kei is very happy with how Miyabi is fighting all of them, and he praises her for a job well done while thanking Toru for breaking her heart, as it was at that moment they found her and offered her the powers. Toru realizes that they were all being watched back at the island. Meanwhile, the leader of the Libers is very proud of Miyabi's progress, but the mistress lets him know that he will be punished for kidnapping one of her students and using them for their experiments. As Miyabi and Toru fight, Kei leaves them and tells them that he is going to visit the mistress, then disappears. Miyabi is still fighting them, and Tomo volunteers to help and free Miyabi as she believes in the duo partner bond. The rest leave her and rush to the school where they meet more soldiers. Lilith and another guy fight them off while giving space to Toru and Julie to go and finish off Kei. As they walk inside the building, they find Kei waiting for them. They confront him, and Kei reminds Toru that he promised to ice-guy him next time they meet, but he first wants to see how he would look like when he realizes that he has failed to protect Julie. They begin the fight, and Kei seems to be winning as he beats them up and injures them in the process. On the other hand, Miyabi and Tomo fight, and Tomo reminds Miyabi about her strength, making her realize that she doesn't need this kind of power as she is already powerful. Miyabi declines and continues beating Tomo, who doesn't fight back but rather tries to connect with her inner self. Miyabi resists, but Tomo insists, and the gem starts to crack, causing confusion to erupt in Miyabi's body and mind. Tomo reminds Miyabi of all the promises they made to each other to always protect each other, and she apologizes for failing to fulfill that promise. So she promises again to always be by her side from now onwards, promising to always hold her hand and support her. Miyabi breaks free from the powers and is thrown on the ground unconscious. Meanwhile, Kei is surprised to see that the connection to Miyabi is lost, which makes him angrier. He summons more Spartans to shoot at Toru and Julie. Toru fights them off, but Kei is the one with the W. Toru decides to protect Julie, and he injects the syringe into his system, making him go nuts, and he starts to fight Kei, determined to protect Julie. He fights and starts to injure Kei. Kei is surprised and angry at the same time as the duo is protecting each other. Toru manages to wound and weaken him, delivering the final blow using all his powers, leaving Kei unconscious on the floor. He walks up to Julie and picks her up, along with Lilith and the other boy. As they walk out thinking they have finished Kei, they find him in front of them fully upgraded and using destruction as his weapon. Kei fights off Lilith and the other boy, leaving them unconscious while destroying their blaze. Toru and Julie start to fight him as well, and they struggle as he has more power. Kei starts targeting and blowing up parts of the school while students are in there. He manages to weaken Toru and Julie, and as he is gathering his final big blow to finish the school, Rito comes and blocks it off, consuming all her energy. She manages to defend the school, hence it remains fine. The children cheer her on as she positions herself to continue fighting him. Rito and Toru fight off Kei, distracting him as Julie creeps up behind him. She manages to get close to him, but one of her knives falls to the ground. With one last blow, Julie stabs Kei and an explosion erupts. Julie falls down and loses consciousness due to the impact sustained. Kei attacks her, but Toru blocks with his shield. Just as the attack on her ends, Kei immediately stabs Toru from behind, and he falls to the ground. Julie cries out aloud as Kei mocks her, making her angrier. She tries to hold her anger, but pain consumes her, and she starts to fight with Kei. Kei is amazed at how much stronger she has gotten since the last time they fought and starts to get a little scared knowing he might get losing herself more. Julie stabs and beats up Kei without mercy or remorse, creating portals from every angle and stabbing him more and more. Toru wakes up and sees Julie as she beats up and almost kills Kei. Toru calls Julie, and she stops killing Kei, focusing on Toru, but he shields himself. Toru apologizes to her for all the pain she has had to endure, and he is sorry for contributing to that pain. He assures Julie that he is alive, promising to always stay by her side and protect her, just as he promised. Toru removes the shields, and Julie almost hits him, but she hears his voice as he hugs her, stopping midway to see Toru alive. She hugs him and cries in his arms, happy that he is okay. Kei still stands up and fights them. Julie and Toru merge their power and bond their souls while reciting their promises to each other. Kei is more infuriated and starts hitting him, but they create a shield and block off every blow he sends their way. As Toru lets Julie run, she falls, and Kei gets ready to fight her. But Toru wields Julie's weapon and stabs Kei with it, destroying all his upgrades once and for all, leaving him unconscious. Toru wakes up in the hospital, and Miyabi comes and apologizes for causing all that trouble. She bows her head and asks for forgiveness from Toru, who forgives her and congratulates her for finding her powers. He promises they will all be friends for a very long time. As he is able to walk, he looks for Julie but finds her room locked with a do not disturb sign. Weeks go by, and Lilith and Toru are having tea when Lilith hands Toru a file containing Kei's history. Toru finds out that Kei had a brother who always protected him but passed away, and Kei lost hope and only depended on power to get whatever he wants. As he finishes reading, Lilith tells Toru that Julie has finally been discharged. Toru rushes to the bell tower and finds Julie there staring into the horizon. Julie apologizes to Toru for misusing her powers and hurting him in the process. She also begs him not to leave her because of her flaws. Toru also apologizes to Julie for letting her use her powers even though he knew he wasn't supposed to, and tells her he would love to continue the partnership, which makes them both happy. Will Toru help Julie control her powers, or will he focus on amending his relationship with Miyabi? Let's confuse the fake fans by commenting RIP Toru, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.